Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by Bummers. Don't forget, there will be a last time you tell someone that you love them. Now, let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by Last Gasp, the dating app for sexy seniors looking to leave their mark or two. Come towards the light of Last Gasp. Welcome, everyone, to The Pestle. I'm Wes.
And I am Todd.
And we're filmmakers. We make things, we smash it up and see what it's made of, and then talk about it. What did we learn? And I don't know, what else did we like or not like? It's a review process, but also just a learning experiment. And maybe it's really the films we made along the way. Yeah. What are we covering today, man? Let's go straight to it.
Straight into it. We are covering The Smashing Machine, which is out in theaters at the time of recording this episode. So if you haven't seen it, please pause the episode and go watch it because we're going to spoil all the things.
Yeah, we are. We'll talk about a couple of things at least. Some of the story and writing, talk about some of the exposition, talk about stakes and finales, and other such stuff and things and stuff.
And a quick synopsis of the film. It's the story of mixed martial arts and UFC champion Mark Kerr. It's written and directed by Benny Safdie. Cinematography by Maceo Bishop, maybe. Featuring Dwayne Johnson as Mark Kerr, Emily Blunt as Dawn, and Ryan Bader as Mark Coleman.
And no soundbite. I couldn't find one that really made sense. And this might be the fastest we've been into the show since Vanilla Sky. and so dude, yeah, you were really interested in seeing and talking about our man, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. In my head, I always want to say The Rock, and I'm sure that's still fine, but I know he's, as an actor, focused on Dwayne Johnson, which is totally cool. And I have a lot of questions. Obviously, I want to know what you thought about him, and I'm sure we'll both, adore freaking Emily Blunt and as just the god of all of acting. But I definitely want to hear two things. First, like the amount of tension that you got while watching this. And I already forgot the second thing. It'll come back to me in a minute. But were you tense the entire time watching this? Or were you familiar with his story and where this was going?
No, I was not familiar with the story. There were I expected more to happen, really. And so, yes, there was a lot of tension. I think for me, the biggest thing was there were scenes where I felt awkward watching it, where I felt like, I shouldn't be seeing this, and that's a good thing. It's like a kudos to the filmmaking, because it was like, I thought it was lit really practically, and felt real. And then there were these just really awkward moments where they just weren't getting each other. And almost like they were like walking on eggshells, because Mark is like a weird kind of, he's nice. He's like overly nice, but then he has this kind of, at least in some scenes, like for example, the cactus scene, where he has this kind of way of being upset, but not angry. It's I don't know. It's hard to describe. So there were these moments where I felt like, oh, this is awkward. I shouldn't be watching this, and that felt good. Those were the best moments of the film to me. The fighting scenes didn't really do it for me. But okay, let me start just on, we'll talk about Dwayne for a second. I wanted to see this movie because I feel like Dwayne Johnson has a gear in him. I really do. And I think that he loves what he does, and he puts everything he has into it. It just, really comes off like that. And I think that it was hard for me to see him, right? He did a really good job, and they did a good job makeup in making him look less like Dwayne Johnson, even with the shaved head. You know, like at that point where he shaved his head, I'm like, oh, okay, there's The Rock. And I know that's The Rock, but still, it was like almost uncanny valley. Like, I know who that is, but it's not him, you know? So they did a good job of trying to make him look less Rock, even though the dude was just jacked. I mean, holy crap.
His traps had traps.
Dude, I mean, we talk, one of the second episode we did was Warrior, and we talked about Tom Hardy and his straps and like how he looked like a baby compared to the way that Dwayne, and I know Dwayne Johnson is giant.
Yeah.
But I've seen him in other movies, and this is a whole nother level. Like, the dude is just, and not only is he big, but he's cut as hell. I mean, he just looks fantastic in this movie. So I think that he put everything he had into it. Obviously, Emily Blunt, otherworldly. She's fantastic. I buy her as Dawn every second of the way. Like her with an American, this is weird.
Oh,
but her with an American accent is even better, I think, than like her with a British accent, which I would never say about any actor ever. I think that British accents are way better than American accents. But I think the way that she did this character and the voice that she did was just spot on, perfect. I don't even know the real Dawn. I don't need to know her because I'm watching her is what I feel like. I think though that the movie itself didn't hold up for me in what I was expecting. Yeah. I applaud Benny Safdie for the writing and making of this film, right? And I applaud all of the actors for everything that they put into it. But I was left kind of like let down a little bit, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he loses at the end. I love movies where they lose at the end. Mm-hmm. We both do. I think that it was too much about UFC for me, you know, which is weird to say because I know this is centered around UFC and the beginnings of UFC and how this like really got started, and has blown up into what it is now. But I think I would have been much more entertained if it was more like a Warrior kind of style where like, yes, there's fighting, but it's not about that, you know? This felt like very much about the fighting and very much about his battles in the ring, even though we see a bunch of battles outside the ring, like, you know, him using and getting clean and stuff, and his battles with Dawn. Maybe you can help me understand it, why I feel this way, but I just feel like it's too centered on this other thing that I don't really give a shit about. Like, look, UFC is cool, I get it, but what I care about is those moments that I mentioned at the beginning where it felt awkward watching him and Dawn together, like these awkward silences. And you get it at the very beginning when he's asking her about the smoothie that she's making, the smoothie, and she makes it wrong, right? And they're just sitting there in silence, and you're thinking, what is happening right now? And then he mentions it again, that like, you know, you made my smoothie wrong, right? You know, like, you know, it's this and it's 4 bananas or I don't know, whatever, 2.5 bananas. Those are the moments that like really shine for me. And I think that Dwayne kills it in those moments. And I think that Emily kills it in those moments. The other folks, you could tell that they weren't really actors. Like Ryan Bader didn't really feel like an actor really. And then the trainer guy, I'm pretty sure that they're probably like real fighters.
Probably.
I don't know anything.
Yeah,
about
I don't.
But it didn't feel like the same engagement. It felt more like reciting lines from them is why I'm saying that than it did from like Dwayne. Dwayne is a seasoned actor. Say what you will about him, the guy can act. You know, you watch both of them and then you put them next to his trainer, and this Ryan Bader gentleman, and they just don't hold up. So maybe that also took me out of it a little bit too. It was like, I don't need to see him so much. This is a story about Mark and Dawn and Mark's battle. And anyway, I'll stop there, but I'm curious what you think. But for me, I would give it probably like out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6 at best. And most of that comes from the effort that I could see put into it, not the output.
I mostly agree with everything you're saying. I got to the end of the movie and was just like, okay, I guess I'll leave now.
Yeah, right.
But and this is a very mild disagreement, while also still kind of agreeing in that those side actors, the side characters that you're talking about, the coach and Ryan Bader playing Mark Coleman, like I actually really enjoyed their performances because I didn't feel like they were acting. But I also will agree that it did pull me out because I did think like, I don't think they're actors. So you're not wrong. But once I kind of accepted that, I really did enjoy both the coach and Bader, the Mark Coleman. Like I just bought it all the way, and his cauliflower ears, definitely sell it. And that coach, that scene where he like is hurting his tendon in his arm or whatever nerve damage that he's dealing with in his arm, like that shook me as much as anything else in the movie. I was just like, good God, get that guy some opium. Like I was shook. That was incredible acting. And
it was really good.
Unless they really just like, you're going to keep hitting this thing until it triggers. Because even the way it happened, like he hits it and it just takes a moment. It takes like 1 or 2 seconds for him to realize, oh, it's happening. And it seizes up. Like it's a really beautiful, like he's clearly dealt with that stuff before. It was just so perfectly authentic. But otherwise, like, yeah, we're going to be in complete agreement about Emily Blunt. If she's ever turned in a bad performance, she's hiding it really well. Like, I don't know what she does to prepare for this stuff, but she is lights out every time. And she elevates the entire movie. Like, I thought, Dwayne Johnson, amazing. And I also feel really sad for him. And there's a bit of a paradox because on the one hand, I think Emily Blunt gets a nomination. And the only question is if she gets it for Best Actress or Best Supporting. I think the Oscars can be a little funny that way in terms of there's all these already great actresses that we want to nominate, but we'll make her a Best Supporting. That way we know she'll win that because she deserves a minimum recognition, but probably to win something. I don't know. But on the other hand, I don't think The Rock gets one, mostly because and this is the paradox, I don't think he got to do enough in this movie to earn it. And the one moment I felt like he was kind of going for it, he kind of hides, under the covers when he breaks down and cries. That's a really big moment, for you to go for it. And I couldn't tell if that was like he was just struggling that day to get the juices going, or if that was really an authentic, version of Mark Kerr hiding his shame. And it could go either way. But I know in that moment I'm thinking, oh, he's hiding his acting. And later
I thought that too.
Really?
You're talking about right after he loses the first time?
Well, right after he's in the hospital after he OD'd, and Coleman goes in there and he calls him out. He's like, "Hey, buddy, just stop, okay?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, kind of high. He pulls the covers up over his face, and I was like, I felt like that was a good moment to really go for it, and I can't make up my mind if that was just a part of the character or if that was just him having a tough day. And maybe he got it in later takes that, I don't know. But anyway, I just don't think he just had quite enough to do in this movie. And that gets into, I think, some of the issues you and I were both having, which is we don't really know what this movie's about until it's over. like there's no stakes, and so like what are the stakes? What does he need to do, or what does he need to prevent from happening? He doesn't really need the money. Like, we understand $200,000 is a lot of money, but it's not clear that to your point about Warrior, right? Like, we understand why everyone in that movie needs to win that tournament. And in this movie, there's no real emotional, visceral need that's making us want him to have that money. Same thing with Mark Coleman. It's like we're just kind of rooting for them because they're the guys we're following. And so, okay, if the money doesn't mean anything, what about just losing itself? That doesn't really seem to matter either. Like, it just kind of makes him feel bad, but we don't have any emotional need to prove anything, because Don is the only other main character in here, is totally indifferent to whether he wins or loses. In a good way, I think, actually. Like, she loves him either way. And so his relationship isn't hinging on whether or not he wins or loses. And so the stakes really aren't there, which I'm okay with. This is an indie film. Like, if this were, some big budget film that I was showing up with, I would probably be a little confused. But as an indie film lover, I'm totally okay with just watching someone go through the motions. Therefore, you need something else. You need something else to happen. And that was where I think a lot of that tension was coming from. Being unfamiliar with this guy's story, you're just like expecting something really awful to happen to someone. She pulls that gun. You're like, oh my God.
Dude, I was like, is this really happening? Because she does it, and he's like way far away from her at the time. I'm like, oh my God, she's going to blow her fucking brains out. This is, oh my, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh God, I can't look away. I don't know what to do. And then it doesn't happen. You're grateful that it doesn't happen. You don't want that to happen, but then you're also confused about why are we telling this story? And so you keep waiting, like, okay, how's that gonna? And there's just no real like crescendo moment. There's no payoff or aha or WTF kind of reveal at any point that makes you say, that's why we're watching this story. Instead, it kind of comes in the credits when it talks about the success of UFC and all the millions it's made and how these guys are struggling still. And I appreciate that, but if that was the note that you were trying to attack, then I think you have to reconstruct this entire movie around something else. Like, we need to either understand the stakes of their struggle and how UFC is more than just an outlet and something they enjoy, but something that's allowing them, like, Coleman might have been the better character to focus on. Like, he has a family, and he ends up winning. And so there's a little bit more of a stronger emotional payoff, but we don't know the first thing about him until he picks up the phone and we see, oh, he's got a wife and kids. Okay. That's information, but it's not like we ever meet them. And we don't even know Mark Coleman and Mark Kerr are friends until like 40 minutes into the movie. Like, you kind of see Coleman on the escalator and he waves, and that's kind of about the extent of it. And so you got to reimagine this story from the standpoint of, if this is about getting the UFC off the ground, then maybe both of these guys are background characters. And there's a lot to love about the Mark Kerr, like, personality, because he's such a sweet guy, and he's got this thing seething under him, underneath, that we're aware of eventually. And it's like, it's something you don't enjoy seeing, because you also get the feeling that he doesn't enjoy those moments when he like rips the door in two and then goes back to eating breakfast. Like, he doesn't enjoy that. We definitely didn't enjoy it, because we like the other guy who's very sweet, and he's always trying to be understood and to set boundaries and like be good to people. Like, I really believe that's who he genuinely is trying to be, and sometimes he just falls short. And he needs help getting there too. And Don is simply not the person to get him there. That's just as perceived as, demonstrated by this movie anyway. Like, it's just not a good fit of a relationship for those kind of reasons. And so maybe instead we go a little bit more into whatever Dana White or whoever is heading up like UFC or even Pride, or maybe it's the same person running both of those things. I don't really know. But giving us that framework of we need ratings, we need to get back into America, or this is about, and there's this really nice expositional moment it's a great scene whenever after that opening, he goes into the doctor's office and he's in the waiting room. He's talking to that woman and her grandson. What an extraordinary scene, because we're understanding what it is that he does. What is this boxing? And so even, the people that have never heard of UFC can walk in and understand, oh, okay, this is mixed martial arts of all kinds coming together and seeing who dominates. Cool. You also see that it's very violent. And you also hear from her like, oh, you're the ones they're trying to get banned and outlawed or whatever. He's like, yes, ma'am. And so you're getting a really healthy perspective of what this sport is in a lot of different ways, because we're also seeing his temperament and sweetness with how he's treating this woman who can't possibly benefit him. And he's being very kind, and he's going to her to explain why he's looking the way he looks. He doesn't want to go around scaring people. And so you're understanding his temperament, his sweetness, and just kind of how he's an advocate for his sport. And even whenever he talks to the kid, right, he's signing his autograph and he says no fighting. And he's being tongue in cheek, but he's also, I think, trying to spread a genuine message. And so I think maybe framing this story from a different perspective would either earn the 2-hour runtime. I don't think it earns it. Or you trim this thing way back and have, I don't know, probably more Mark Coleman, and really build his stakes up more so that we understand why winning, and that'll just give you a bigger emotional satisfaction for the payoff. But you can still explore Kerr. But I mean, we get to the end and we're like, oh, okay, so he took a beating, and some of that stuff is kind of communicated like, oh, he's addicted because of what he does for a living. But it's not clear that he has to do this for a living. The extent that we get is Coleman saying like, I have a wife and kids, but there's worse ways to make a living than getting into this ring. And that's kind of it. That's all they really give you. I'll pause there and let you respond, and if that tracks with you.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And while you were talking, you kind of like alluded some or brought some things out of my mind. The first thing is that scene you're talking about with the old lady was a great scene. I totally agree. And one of the biggest reasons for me is that I think the kid asks, or I don't remember if the kid asks or she asks if they hate each other when they fight, and he said absolutely not. That should have been, I feel like, much more. Well, it is woven into the movie a lot of times, like when he loses that first fight because the guy goes kneeing him in the head, and then they take a picture afterwards. That kind of, so the early conversation with the old lady sets up this thing that happens where they take a photo together at the end. But okay, so then I still don't know what the story is at the end of this. And so maybe the story is that like he can beat the crap out of a guy or get beaten the crap out of, and then take a photo with the same person, but he can't treat Dawn, the person that loves him, no matter what, the way that she deserves to be treated. Maybe that's the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't, but it's not, but maybe it should have been, and the other thing that you kind of triggered in me was, I think the reason why this movie doesn't work is because it's a lot of and thens. It's not a lot of therefores or what is it?
But therefore.
It's just an and that this happens and then this happens and then this happens, and we're literally, it's like Mark Kerr sat down with Benny Safdie and told him everything that happened from beginning to end, and they just made that movie.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. There's no arc, really, unless you count, the contest or the tournament at the end. There's really no huge arc, because like you said, it's not really evident that like he needs the money. $200,000, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's not life changing. Let's be honest.
Oh.
Not even back then. Like this isn't that long ago. It's 30 years ago. Not even 30 years ago. So really wasn't that much. And then so you're thinking, well, what if he loses? But he's lost before. He got over it, and yeah, I'm left, without a story to hold on to at the end of this, so.
And to highlight your point that there's no real like propulsion domino effect happening throughout the movie, when he overdoses, why does he overdose? How does it happen? We have no idea. Right. It happens off screen. So we don't get any emotional understanding of what happened preceding that, other than he and Dawn had a fight and he lost control for a moment. But we exit that scene, everything's fine. And then immediately we cut to Mark Coleman answering the phone, and she's freaked out that he won't wake up. She found him sleeping on the floor, and he won't wake up. And that's it. That's a massive moment to give us some insight into his psyche. And I think that's the exact same thing I thought, which is he just heard the story and he told it. And this was someone that Benny Safdie, I would guess, based on this movie, that he looked up to. He loved him as a kid or when he was younger. And he was just like, I would love to tell the story that no one really understands around the beginnings of UFC, what it was really like for some of those guys. Great. But this is also why 99.9% of the time, whenever you're telling a true life story, you dramatize it. You find the story within the story. And this is where audiences really allow you to make some modifications for the sake of drama. Like we discussed it, I thought, pretty well on Rudy. Like they changed a handful of things to make Rudy work, but they were all supporting the emotional state that he was in while he was going through that story. Like none of it was just there for the sake of making everything look really bad or whatever. It was really there to help you understand and connect with some of those deeper emotional things that he's struggling with. And so if he's struggling in this movie, Mark Kerr is struggling with addiction or with pain, I think you got to push that to another level. It's not good enough for us to watch a coach go through it. We need to see him have that moment. What does it look like whenever he has that same moment? We have no idea. And maybe that was what was happening whenever he overdosed. And maybe if they would have given him a neck problem, like I was just like, is this guy going to be paralyzed after getting his head? Is that what this movie is? It's him fighting off paralysis? Like, I didn't know, because I'm watching Igor, like Neum, after explicitly being told this is an illegal move now, and then he does it, and you're hearing the sound effects, some pops and cracks, and I'm just like, oh God. And he's down, you're like, oh God. Oh no, he's fine. In fact, he's going to go argue with the refs and the owners or whoever's running the operation. Like, oh, so really he's fine, but it just hurts. Like, and I know that sounds very like insensitive to be like, oh, it just hurts. I'm aware, this is the whole point. We're all aware that those guys feel pain. We understand NFL players feel pain, but you have to do it in a way that's cinematic, that helps the viewer understand what that actually feels like. And that's why you have to dramatize it and take things a little out of proportion to help us really understand what it's like for them and why he's doing these things that he's doing.
Yeah, 100%. And then I also didn't fully get the ending. Like, we're just watching him get stitches, and maybe I'm desensitized by watching Born Identity, right, where he gives himself stitches and stuff, like, but like that didn't do it for me. That wasn't, his buddy, his best friend is winning, is like gonna win the whole thing, and he's back there getting stitches. It's like, okay, is the story like he had to get fixed up, so he didn't even get to support his buddy, who, by the way, when he won earlier, his buddy jumps into the ring to hug him and say, good job. I kind of just don't know what's going on, And then in the end, when he's like crying in the shower, I also don't really, is he happy for his friend? but he just has to have a shower first. Like, I don't, like, I don't know. I just, that's why I was saying, I feel like this is just a linear story that was told to Benny Safdie, and then he just made the movie. And you hit the nail on the head perfectly earlier when you said like this is an indie film. Like, if you look at this as an indie film, yeah, it's fantastic. I don't really look at this as an indie film. You've got two fantastic actors, one of the best actors working right now, and if you have Emily Blunt in your movie, it's not an indie film, even if she's working for $0 or at scale. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not. Anyway, so while, yes, if you watch it with that in mind, sure, you can get away with a lot, and this is fantastic, but I expect more when I'm watching Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt on screen. I expect more from the story, not from them. I think that they did as good a job as they could. I think that Dwayne Johnson did as good a job as he could. Maybe you're right. Maybe he couldn't really cry or get emotional or something, so he covered his face, and that's just what it is. What it is. But he still did a great job at everything else.
Yep.
So yeah, it just didn't hold up. I was so excited too. Like, I was hoping it was going to be what people were talking about, but yeah, for me it just wasn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of my favorite moments, I had two favorite moments as far as The Rock goes, which the best one was right when he takes that first loss, or it becomes a no contest, and he's in the room and she shows up, and he's out of it. He's disconnected. He's clearly upset, but trying to contain himself, but he's also seemingly like high. And I love everything about that scene is so good. Like, because I'm buying all of it. I'm buying her frustration, and I'm also buying his frustration, and also how just zapped he is out of his mind. I think that's a beautiful scene. And that's a performance heavy scene. That's not something that they set up and you just understand. It's 100% a performance scene, which is why I think it deserves to be called out. The inverse of that, which is he does his thing, but it's just set up enough in terms of editing and Kuleshov effect, is when they're at the fair and he's watching the destruction derby and he's watching that car get hit again and again and again, and we're just watching his face and seeing the concern and what helps, so many things are making that scene work. One is, again, the Kuleshov effect is pushing two edits next to each other, right? You see, this comes from an old, I think it's a Russian or German, I think it's Russian, where you're watching a guy's face and it's completely neutral. Then you show a shot of food. Then you show the guy again. They ask the viewer, like, what did you think? Oh my God, his performance is so good. He's so hungry. I can really feel it. And then another edit of that same shot of that guy doing nothing on screen. And I think they show it's either a baby, or maybe there's several of these. It's either a baby or maybe there's like an attractive woman that they intercut it with. And they always like, oh, he's really concerned for that child, or, oh man, he really wants that girl. And it's just like, that's the Kuleshov effect. It's implying an emotion or a thought based on the sequence of the edit. And so by intercutting everything we've already seen up to this point of him getting his own head kicked, kneed in, and now we're watching this car getting crushed, and then we're watching his reaction, we're just assuming, but he's also doing the right things. Like, he's not doing any of the wrong things. He's just really watching and like he's focused. But the other element that helps there is everyone else's performance. Like, Emily Blunt right next to him cheering and enjoying it, but the rest of the extras are too. All the background is also cheering and like enjoying it. And so that contrast of what he's not doing that everyone else is also adds that extra layer of, we understand emotionally that he's concerned for the safety of that driver. But it's also giving us all these beautiful thoughts about how he might feel when he's in the ring and how everyone is cheering for him to get his head caved in. And so there's a really beautiful dynamic engagement that I'm having with that moment and empathizing with what I perceive. And again, that's Kuleshov. Like, it's just my perception of what I think he's like feeling and thinking and going through. Is that some of the same thoughts and feelings you were having in that moment?
Yeah. I mean, he did a little bit more than just sit there. Like he had a reaction where he would like blink or, try to come back to reality or whatever. But yes, definitely. And that's actually, I didn't know that had a name.
Oh, yeah. Kuleshov effect.
That technique. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense. It's just like magic is in the editing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even in the acting sometimes. That was a good scene.
Yeah. It's all about, visual storytelling, and that's where it really is rooted in. Yeah. The other thing that I picked out, and these are simple little victories, is the opening. I love that it starts on like this VHS tape camcorder, like of him going in and fighting, and it's brutal. Like, it's a brutal victory, and I love that scene for so many reasons. It's merciless, right? And he's punching and he's destroying, and we also understand this is his first time in the ring, and he looks like an unbeatable monster in there. Like, you really are like, why would anyone get into the ring with this guy? But then you also see after it's clear, he's won. He's not going back and celebrating. He's really genuinely concerned for this other guy's safety. And he can't enjoy his victory until he knows this guy's going to be okay. And that's and it beautifully transitions. Obviously, there's a whole sequence of him just dominating in Brazil. But then that's the segue into the doctor's office and that conversation with the woman. And that's just a really beautiful, like whatever it is, 5-7 minute sequence of understanding the world we're going to be inhabiting for the next, 2 hours. 2 hours of this. And I think the only other call out, where is it? This is pretty simple again, exposition wise, like, is how they introduced that final tournament. It's not complicated, but we need to know as a viewer, this is it, because we kind of just been popping around in and out of fights, in practice, and we're hearing about this $200,000 thing, and we don't know. Let's get a little trumpets and fanfare going to make sure we understand this is the big show. This is the big moment. And so they start with them in the locker room, right? They're looking through the pamphlet. I forget what they call those, the brochure or whatever. And they're like admiring each other, right? Oh, did you see you on page 5? No, check out you on page 7, bro. And it's like they're bonding there. And then they're like, hey, let's go talk and greet the fans. And so we go through that and we see, oh, okay, everyone's really starting to pack out this place. And then we cut to everyone in the ring, right, with the Star Spangled Banners going off, and it's just beautiful. You have this kind of Jimi Hendrix, guitarist going for it. And so it just lets us know this is it. This is the big match. This is what we've all been, waiting for. Potentially. And so, yeah, I thought that was a really smart way to make sure you're, signposting for the audience. Hey, you've arrived. You're in the city limits now, and get ready for the show. The other thing I really enjoyed, and this is just for my own stupid reasons, I guess, is Mark Kerr has his guy down on the mat, Fujita, and he's taking a swing. He's kicking him. And he misses, and he does like a little pirouette in the middle of the ring. And I love that because it's real. Like, if you swing with all that might and you miss, you're turning in a circle. And I like that also because it made me feel less bad. Although mine was not intentional. Like, I was in a short film a while back, and I was playing a boxer, and because, I had boxing experience, but I wasn't used to, and this is where stunt training really comes in handy. I wasn't used to swinging and missing at anyone. I'm used to like hitting something. And so I'm in the middle of this scene and I keep swinging like I'm doing a really big, I don't know, a cross or something, or an uppercut, and I just I'm trying not to, hit this guy because he's not protecting himself, because that's the nature of the scene. You're supposed to and so I still tap him a couple times, but I'm also taking this big final wind up swing at him, and I'm turning in a circle. And it took me a while to figure out, how do I fucking plant myself so that I don't look like an idiot on screen. And I 100% look like an idiot, and it's so frustrating. But that is the difference between doing an actual sport and training to be a stunt operator, a stunt man. And it's a different skill set. And just because someone is good at wrestling, someone, is an MMA fighter, doesn't mean they're going to be good in the ring performing on camera, because The Rock, luckily, has millions of hours practicing these kinds of things. So he's able to get in there and make it look really gross and bloody, but I feel confident that he probably didn't hurt anyone too bad. There's always going to be stuff that happens on accident, of course, but I bet he didn't hurt anyone too bad. Whereas you get me in there going full tilt, and this is something we also talked in the Warrior episode, I'm probably going to injure one of these stunt guys, not because I'm bigger and stronger, but literally because I don't know what my body is doing in the way that they do. And they're giving your body over to you to be pulled and punched and locking your elbow out. And if you don't know what you're doing, you will dislocate someone's elbow. You really need to understand how to operate as a stunt man before you start going in and jumping in and giving your body over to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, and also being the actor in that scene and understanding how to safely operate the scene and make it look intense and make it look good without actually injuring anyone. Because guess what? Early day, everyone's going home. No one's getting paid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. Well said. I think I said everything that I had to say. I mean, I would just be continuing to say the same thing. I think there are some great moments, but not really pay off. One
last question, then I have one other thought. Did you have any thoughts or feelings on the score? My first time through, I didn't have any thoughts. I watched this twice. And so
I did.
Okay, please. What did you notice or pick out?
I hated it.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
I thought it gave me nothing. I thought it took away. Honestly, it's a perfect example of what not to do in a score in my mind. To me, what do I know? I don't know shit. But to me, I feel like a score is supposed to either tell you something or heighten something that you already know or understand. It's supposed to bolster or build something up, or it's supposed to introduce something new or remind you of something old. It didn't feel like anything. It didn't feel like anything went with the scene that was going on, or the feeling I was supposed to feel, or the memory I was supposed to have about something that happened 30 minutes ago, or whatever. It was just almost like, you went on to one of these websites and just downloaded random pieces of music and then just slapped them on there. And listen, I'm being a jerk right now. Benny Safdie knows what he's doing. I get it. But in this case, failure maximum. I would have preferred this movie without any music. That's how bad it was. Yeah. It was it was taking away from what I wanted to feel. It would be bouncy and stuff, but there's something tense happening, or there's supposed to be an emotional moment or something, and just the music was not supportive of the emotion that it was trying to convey in my mind.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think the one moment that I really picked up that I was just what is happening right now, was during the Igor loss. Whenever he's going into the ring and he gets in, it's this jazz drum score. And it's very just all over the place, and it felt sloppy and exactly what you're describing. It's lacking specificity and lacking intention. It didn't push or pull my thoughts anywhere. I didn't understand the inclusion of that instrumentation. It didn't feel like it really fit the vibe of any of this movie. And it just didn't make sense. It didn't feel cohesive. I did like after that, there's this really nice high pitch kind of, I don't know, a chime or a whistle or a siren kind of thing after that loss that ramped up the tension a little bit, like, oh, something's about to happen. Now, on the other hand, like, there was no real payoff to that other than it's a no contest. Okay, smile for the picture. Great.
But was that part of a soundtrack or was that sound design?
Oh, good question. That could have been sound design. It could have been score. Could have been have been your effects mixer. I don't know. But yeah, listen, if I could make something half this good, I would be okay with it, to be completely frank.
Sure.
But sure. I agree. Like, it's lacking in a lot of ways that I went in. And it's so funny because I didn't know what I was going into, and yet I still walked away feeling like it wasn't what I was hoping it would be, which is another paradox, I suppose. Nice. What are you going to recommend this week?
I'm gonna recommend on Netflix Monster. If you haven't seen that, careful with it. But yeah. I'm not going to say anything else. There's really nothing else to say, but
just go ahead and play.
Good performance.
Nice. Yeah. I'm on the fence. Hold on. No. How about, okay, I'm going to recommend another indie film that goes back to the French New Wave called The 400 Blows. This is a masterpiece. It's one of those core films that really exemplifies what the French New Wave is. I got to see it last week at the Austin Film Society. Has a movie theater, and they played that as a part of a French New Wave month. I'm hoping to see Breathless at some point. But it's such a good movie, and the reason this really sprang to mind was because there's a graviton moment in the 400 Blows, where the kids go in and they're in the graviton, and that's really cool. But I think it also kind of exemplifies how you can tell a story that keeps you off keel, that puts you in a character's psyche, and you don't necessarily need big bangs and explosions to make it feel cohesive and to really give you a sense of payoff. I don't want to say too much about what the movie's really about, but it's worth watching if you want to see how some of the OGs handled it, because it holds up. And in a theater, man, that was magical. I've never seen it in a theater before, and it was just magical.
How old is it? What year did it come out?
Oh gosh, like either 59 or 60.
Oh man, old.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, black and white French film. You definitely, 59. And so it goes way back, and it just was one of those films that changed everything in Hollywood. Being a French film, like it just was. Apparently, I mean, I was a very long time from being born, but yeah, worth watching. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to go back to the theater, and this will be our first time into this universe. We're going to take a look at Tron Ares, the new movie. I have big hopes. I have no idea what to expect. So hopefully it lives up to both of our... It's big budget sci-fi. It's hard for us to not do it.
You got Trent Reznor at the helm for music, so
that's all I know.
Nine Inch Nails.
That's all I know about this movie. It's got Trent Reznor scoring, so I will be having fun no matter what. Don't forget, subscribe, drop us a review, leave us a note, something you want us to cover. And if you want to comment on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/The Smashing Machine.
And our quote of the day is from Dwayne Johnson. I'm always asked, what's the secret to success? But there are no secrets. Be humble, be hungry, and always be the hardest worker in the room. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, all of like the really great, the greats at something, you know, you look at Kobe Bryant, you look at Michael Jordan, you look at Tiger Woods. Yeah. Maybe they were always pretty good with a basketball or a golf club, but really they were great because they outworked everyone, you know? And, you know, I think Kobe was one, like the biggest one for me, where he would say, you know, if I wake up at 4 a.m. and I go practice for 2 hours and then take a break and then go back to practice with the team, I've already got 2 hours of practice in. And then if I go practice that night, then I've got 2 more hours of practice. So I have 6 hours of practice. I practiced 3 times as much as everybody else that day. And I was like, oh man, that makes sense. But that you just have to put in the time, you know?
That's the hardest thing, is you have to put in the time. You have to work harder. And it's not even necessarily about comparing, right? It's not like I put in, more work than this specific person. It's the mentality of I'm here to put in the effort, because there's really no replacement for that. And I'm always impressed. I always think about like the Spurs and how they draft, you know, and during the NBA, you know, draft, and they don't focus on raw talent. They focus on, okay, everyone who's signing up for the draft probably going to be pretty good, pretty athletic, pretty good at basketball. Is that what's going to sustain them? Because you see people like, I don't want to throw a bunch of people under the bus here, but like, I don't know, Johnny Manziel didn't seem to have a very long football career, right? And that clearly had nothing to do with talent. The guy was crazy talented. Now, I don't know what it does have to do with, so I don't want this to be about him, but there's so many of those athletes. I've known guys drafted in the top 5 of the NFL, and their careers were not as long as it should have been. And I know a guy from that same draft who was in like the 2nd or 3rd round had a very long career. And it came down to just be humble, be hungry, always be the hardest worker in the room. I feel like those are 3 things are describing the exact same thing. I don't think you can, you know, be the hardest worker in the room and be egotistical and narcissistic. Like it takes a certain amount of humility that says, I need to work harder than I did yesterday. I need to keep working, you know, and you have to be hungry. That's the same like 3-sided coin. Like it's all playing in one thing. And if you think you don't need to work harder, then okay, cool. Bad news. Scorsese still thinks he hasn't figured it out. You know, like Kobe never thought he figured it out. Like,
and that's the thing. You just they, to your point, were never comparing themselves to other people. They were comparing themselves to themselves the day before or something. Am I better than I was yesterday? That's it. That's all that matters. And then if you love it, you gotta love it, right? You just have to. If you don't love it, you're gonna quit because you're gonna burn yourself out. So whatever it is that if you love it, throw yourself in, no plan B, just go for it, work as hard as you possibly can, and then work harder, you know? And it doesn't feel like work, you know? You're sitting in front of a guitar for 10 hours a day or something, it doesn't feel like work, then you're just going to get really good and love it, you know? Same thing with making films and writing and stuff, so.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah, man. Great quote. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, I think so.
I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too. Please review us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. It helps a lot. And if there's share us with your friends. And if there's a film that you want to see us talk about or pick apart, let us know what it is. Maybe we'll cover it. We've done that from time to time for sure. And we like hearing from everybody. So let us know. Until next time, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
Go watch some movies. I got nothing. I don't know what to do.
I did the eyebrow. I don't know who does the people's eyebrow. Is that not Rock?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Can you smell?